Before I get back to doing more videos on mind machines, mind-altering technology and its importance for the purposes of generating spiritual experience, I want to quickly talk about an idea that's been going on inside my head for quite a while, and that is to do with superstitious thinking. Now, when Christianity sort of like came along and got itself established in the world, the people who were following Christianity at the time probably thought they were being more advanced because they weren't getting involved in superstitious thinking, and they would believe that because of their religiosity that they were no longer in a position of superstitious thoughts. And yes, of course, and you probably noticed my prosthetic tooth has fallen off and I'm getting that repaired on Wednesday. Alright, so I look more haggard and ugly now than I usually do when I smile. But don't worry, that's going to get fixed. Okay, so you got this group of people who think that they're now more, modern. They're more advanced. They're shunning divination. They're shunning spiritualism, and they think that they're therefore more advanced. But let's just think about why they're shunning it, and why they're shunning it is because of superstitious fear and dread. All right, so they are looking at the whole subject of what are we doing, what are we as a people thinking, okay? And they're thinking we are different to them because we don't do what they do. All right, we think differently to them, yeah, and there's an argument to say that's a good thing, and with the development of the Industrial Revolution, it was probably more important for people to be devout believers in the state and the hierarchy and the power and authority of society, and then to go out and work hard rather than to be more analytical about their spiritual experience and of course the nature of reality. But if the rationale for their shunning of spiritual exercises and all the rest of that is because they're afraid of it in case, let's say, their God disapproved and they would then burn in hell with all the other sinners and unpleasant people, then what on earth is going on wrong with their thinking? What's going wrong with their thinking is that they are thinking in precisely the same way as those who are involved in a more superstitious aspect of what divination was about. Okay? I mean, I mentioned this on someone else's video or someone else's Facebook post a while ago, that you can take the dogma away from the people, but what you're left with is the people. And people are creatures who have problems and issues of thinking. And being more analytical about what a person thinks, all right, you as an individual, looking at everything that you think, you're probably in a position right now of thinking that whatever you think at the moment is true and honest and right and rational from your point of view, because you spent time working out what you think at the moment. Okay, but when you look back at what you thought, let's say 15 or 20 years ago, that's very different to what you're thinking now, and you think, well, yes, I've grown. Yes, but 15 or 20 years ago, you thought to yourself, yes, I've grown, about what you were thinking at the time. Do you see where I'm coming from here? All right? Because every single time you got a perspective or a point of view or a set of ideas, all right, or something which makes up your intellectual sphere at that point in time, that itself is flawed. That itself is still superstitious. A lot of the ways in which we look at the world, we as people look at the world, is based upon superstition, if you think about it. How many people out there have actually shouted at your computer as if it can listen to you when it stops working properly? As if it can hear you. As if it cares. Its feelings are hurt by you saying, "You stupid machine!" Okay? But you instinctively do that, and you can't say that's just because you're letting out the anger, because you could have done something completely different. You could have hit a punch bag or just gone "Urgh!" in a very sort of animalistic way. But instead, no, you address the computer as if it's like a person, and you shout at it. Okay? You called it by name. If you take away the dogma from the people, you're left with the people. So when you had your pagan civilizations that was, hypothetically, okay, this is just me speaking, so I could be saying something historically wrong here, so just don't don't criticize me. All right. Let's say you got your previous pagan culture that had a more superstitious fear of like spirits and demons and spirits of nature everywhere, sort of thing going on, and then you got your more advanced sort of like Christian culture, which says no, that's wrong. We don't do that. Okay. But the rationale for the thinking is because there's a spiritual force which won't like you if you do those things. That's just the same. Okay? Now, if you were to move on to, let's say, a transdeistic perspective, which is what I think at the moment, all right, which is that there's a few experiences out there, they're curious, let's explore them and experience them, because that's curious and says something about us because we can have these experiences. We don't know anything about them, but the experiences are interesting. Then that could be regarded as being a little more advanced. Why would that be a little bit more advanced? Because it doesn't say that you're going to hell. It doesn't say that you need to be afraid. It doesn't say that you don't do that because spirits won't like you if you do that. It doesn't say you do that because spirits like you if you do that. Okay? It doesn't say this is right, it doesn't say this is wrong, and all it says is let's try and find something out through experience and see where we can go from there. Alright, we're probably not going to prove a particular point. We're probably nowhere near the point of being able to use these ideas or this stuff as a technology to be able to create a cure for something or to dramatically transform the world. But let's just experience it because it's curious and we can have these experiences. Alright? Now, what I'm curious about is what the next stage of thinking will be beyond that. Alright? What I'm curious about is what I will be thinking about this in 10, 20 or 30 years time. Alright? So I'm going to be watching myself and I'm going to be watching what I think and what I've learnt and how I perceive the world and seeing whether I've changed beyond that. And I think that's quite exciting. But don't do something because a spiritual being would like you because you do it. Do it because you know it's right. Okay? Don't do something because you're afraid that a spiritual being will hate you because you're doing it. Do it. Do whatever it is you do because you think it's right. Okay? It's the next right thing to do. And always recognize how much further you've got to go in your understanding of nature, how much further you've got to go in your understanding of people, how much further you've got to go in your understanding of every single thing you believe and every single thing that you think. And I mean everything. Your attitudes towards your friends, your attitudes towards your family, your attitude towards money, your work, your society, your community, your politics, the issues of what's happening in the world. Alright? Because like it's almost like written, so to speak, right? That no matter what you think right now, in 10 years time you'll look back at yourself and you think, oh my god, that geezer there, he was a right, ignorant person. Alright? And knowing that should be the thing that should take you out of the arrogance of the here and now. Because no matter who you are, no matter what you are, no matter what you're thinking right now, you are arrogant about what you think. You are proud of it. You think that this is right. You think that you are in a great state of clarity of thoughts and understanding of life. You're not. You can't be. It's not possible. Okay? The acceptance of your inadequacy as a human animal. The acceptance of that and the humility to how much you don't know. That's what's really important. I mean, you see it all the time in all the bloggers about diet and nutrition, for instance. I've been watching that stuff for years now, and there's always a lot of pride in various different points of view. And then science, science can actually disagree with some of that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of valid points there, but the science will disagree with a lot of other stuff. And so that's why you got to be, asking questions and finding your own path and doing what you think is right with that stuff. It's almost like the struggle, alright? The gauntlet is to perpetually go through a struggle to try and get closer to reality. And it's harsh, but it's beautiful.